PNC Unfiltered is back. We're checking out a video today on Piers Morgan. He just dropped this, and it's the Michael Jackson Neverland director. Apparently, he's making some shocking claims here. It's titled, I'm 100% certain. I don't know what he's certain about. I'm assuming it has to do with those child kind of claims. We can't say the word here, but the claims about Michael Jackson doing stuff with children. And so let's go ahead and check this out, see where it goes. I have some opinions on this that I don't know if C is familiar with at this point. We'll take a look.
I have an idea where his claims might be heading, but I've heard some things about this. Honestly, my honest opinion at this point is that Michael Jackson was kind of a weird guy. All right, that might not be saying much, but I'm not too sure if he actually did anything sexual with these children. And that's just solely based off of what Macaulay Culkin has said about his experiences. But my mind is open.
He was a weird guy. I have a lot of arguments to make, but let's just see where this goes.
Going to war with the record labels and was winning, and then suddenly there were all of these allegations that he was a pedophile.
We loved each other deeply.
Do you not like that guy?
Well, this is Shmuley, and I'm not thinking about Shmuley. I'm just thinking about hold up, I'm trying to figure out what the best angle for this. Oh, I like this more. Kind of like a side by side. But yeah, Candace Owens is at the forefront of like uncovering a lot of this stuff and just telling everyone like unfiltered information. That's why we need to get her on the show at some point. We need to get Candace on the show, get her to give us some unfiltered thoughts. But she was just making the point that he was beating the record labels, or he was about to beat the record labels, and then all these allegations came out. Kind of convenient. Let's keep it rolling.
We were very close friends. Michael wasn't a friend of my children, although he was very close to my whole family. He was my friend.
Either way is what happened when those doors shut into those bedrooms. And I think that's where, that's where I reach a point where I just don't know.
My fear was not that Michael was a pedophile, and he was not a pedophile, in my strongest opinion. My fear was that he was going to die.
You enabled this. You let him get away with what he did to us as children.
You look for
us.
You really
was he one of the kids?
Kind of side-eye.
Time flies, dog.
You got a witness on the stand, dog.
He's like 70 years old.
Michael Jackson sold 500 million records. He filled arenas in 50 countries across 6 continents. He still has a best-selling album in history. So there's no doubt that he was a pop megastar. But was he also a paedophile? 17 years after his death, some people don't want that debate to end. The 2019 documentary Leaving Neverland detailed graphic allegations of serious abuse by 2 men who are still awaiting their day in court. And this week, a new film, Leaving Neverland 2, Surviving Michael Jackson,
Number 2?
has put the spotlight on their claims all over again.
Pursuing this was the act of fighting back.
They told their story. Now, after 10 years, where is the justice?
There was knowledge that there was something weird going on.
People must have known.
How do they sleep at night? Hiding everything that Michael was really up to.
Michael Jackson got away with this for a long time. Pedophiles don't operate in a vacuum, especially successful ones.
It's draining to go through this over and over again.
We've got to fight it.
They seek delay, we seek justice.
I want my day in court.
Clearly, millions of people remain fascinated by Michael Jackson. Clearly, these 2 men feel they are pursuing justice. But since there can be no conclusive proof, is it time that Michael Jackson was left to rest in peace?
Yes, obviously.
I'd say probably. There's just no way to confirm that those people aren't just trying to exploit the family for money. You know what I mean? It's like I could go out there and say, hey, whenever I was 10 months old, Michael Jackson raped me. I want money or something.
Yeah, it's like, dude, my butt still hurts. I love wiener now. Like, whatever. Like, dude, his dick didn't work. Like, are you fucking serious? His dick didn't fucking work. You realize his dad castrated him?
Oh,
his
shit,
dad
really?
fucking castrated him. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. Bro, but these hands still work.
Hands do work. Dude, his dad fucking castrated him to keep his voice high-pitched so he could sing well.
Wait, so did he cut off just his nuts then? Is that what happened?
I think what he did was he cut his nuts off. So wiener's still there. You really think? Like, dude, like to me, oh my God, let's just get it going. But like, dude, there's just so much here. Like, and this is pretty basic, simple stuff, but let's just get it rolling.
We discuss all this. Dan Reed, director of the Leaving Neverland films.
That guy I don't trust.
That guy looks like a turtle.
I don't trust this guy.
turtles.
Yeah, he looks like he wants to get thrown at the car behind me in Mario Kart.
Whitfield, who was a former chief of security to Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson's spiritual advisor and author of The Soul of Michael Jackson, Rabbi Shmuley.
That looks like a
and the
smart
producer
guy.
and cultural commentator.
That doesn't.
Well, welcome to all of you. Dan, let me start with you. You and I had a good old ding-dong on Good Morning Britain many years ago when the first film came out. And I guess the central part of my attack on you at the time about the two men that you are involved with this film was that they seemed to me had not produced clear, compelling evidence that Michael Jackson was a pedophile.
Okay, if that's the case, he's innocent. I mean, we can do all this stuff where we're like, oh, well, I feel like he probably did it still. Like the OJ thing, for example. People might bring up OJ. It's like, well, there wasn't good enough evidence. No, there was good enough evidence. He had the best set of attorneys in the history of defense trials.
Yeah.
Okay. And in combination with the police misusing the evidence in the scene. That's different. We have the evidence. We know he did it.
And in combination with a whole cultural movement where they had, there was a whole kind of cultural thing that was happening about black people going to jail or whatever. They kind of made it into a spectacle about that, which made it super hard to get unbiased witnesses. So,
dude, it was like an all-black jury, too.
And there were lots of suggestions that they were doing this because they were motivated by making money, as many people around Michael Jackson done. Now, we got into it, in a pretty animated way. And I would say today, I don't feel I'm any the wiser. I actually spoke to Michael Jackson. He called me and we did an interview. And I want to play the clip from there. It gives an insight into what his mind was like. This was 1999.
This is young Piers.
If it wasn't for children, I would throw in the towel. I would kill myself. I wouldn't care to live. They give me my inspiration. They tried to use it against me. It's just been so unfair, and I'm very upset about it. I would love to live in London. It's just the press is so hard on me here, and I try to do so good. I go to their hospital, I give presents to the children. As soon as I leave, the next day they go, Wacko Jacko left the hospital, and he ignored all the children. And it hurt my heart. Purposely, I flew Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse all the way from Euro Disney. I brought them with me to surprise the children. I brought bags of presents and everything. And I spent time with the kid, and they made fun of me. Leave me alone and let me do what I want to do, which is share and give.
No, look, just cards on the table from where I sit. I only had that one conversation with Michael Jackson. I was never in the room when any of this alleged stuff was going on. I do think Michael Jackson was a weird guy. I do think it's very weird for a guy in his 30s, 40s, 50s to share a bed with young boys.
He was castrated when he was a child. He didn't ever develop through his actual like normal puberty. He didn't even have puberty. Like, what are you talking about?
You know what? That might make sense a little bit of why he was kind of a weird guy.
Yeah, it's like, dude, what are you? It's like all this victim culture. It's like, dude, you're actually victim blaming someone that was abused by their parental figure so strongly that they could never reproduce in the rest of their life. And then you're using the behavior that's the result of that trauma and saying, oh, you probably did something crazy, dude. Bro, I fucking hate this shit, dude. Oh my God.
Who are not his children, right? I think that's creepy. I think it's weird. It's like it's not something most people would find acceptable behavior. But does it make him a paedophile? And Dan, I guess the question I would say to you is, you're back with another film. It's 6 years after the first one. Have you really advanced the debate on whether Michael Jackson was guilty of paedophilia, or is it a rehash of these two guys who are making these claims but actually haven't got any more evidence?
I don't think this guy's
it's neither. So this new documentary is about lawsuits that were filed way before I met Wade and James, and the lawsuits are against Jackson's companies. So it's really saying to the people who work for Jackson, you enabled this. You let him get away with what he did to us as children, and now we're going to hold you to account. We're going to try and change the law, and we're going to try and make this sort of thing unacceptable in the entertainment industry in California. And that's
so he's not even like addressing the actual claim. He's assuming that it's the truth. He's like just assuming it as a presupposition. What are you talking? That's the whole point of the conversation you're having right now, if it's true or not.
He's not answering the question. The question is essentially, what new evidence have you gathered? And he just said, well, we got
Right.
new claims. Ugh.
We have some old evidence that wasn't shown before for some reason. How about that?
That would be good. I would like to see it.
Trying to do.
But are you 100% certain that Jackson was guilty? Are you 95% certain? How would you categorize after you've immersed yourself in this for so long? How would you categorize your own belief about what he may or may not have done?
I'm 100% certain. I mean, and you can see in the new film, there's interviews with
If anyone's 100% certain about anything they didn't see, if it's not something religious, then they're obviously wrong. I'll make the caveat for religiosity because I think there is an argument that God can be experientially known through your, subjective experience, and you can't prove that. You weren't there for it technically, to see God. But that's the only thing where you can be 100% sure about something you can't see and you weren't there for, and there's no evidence for that you could that you're not crazy for saying.
Well, I am 100% certain the Lakers are winning tonight against the Spurs, but that's kind of the third thing.
You're 100% on that?
I'm 100%, dog.
I don't know, dude. Luke's been playing pretty well though. Luke's been picking it up. He had that one he had a triple double in 3 quarters the other night, right?
Bro, he's been averaging 32 points a game on 45% from 3 for the past 8 games.
Dude.
Seems like Luke is back.
What was his name? You remember when it wasn't Colin? Is it Colin Coward? Yeah, Colin Coward was like, LeBron, we don't need you anymore. We got Ben Simmons here. Maybe it's that time with Luka and LeBron, though.
Yeah, bro. He always says some goofy stuff.
He's hilarious.
At APD detectives, there's interviews with Santa Barbara, sheriff's department detective who investigated Jackson. They were all convinced that he was a pedophile, that he liked to have sex with children. So,
am I missing something?
Got to know Wade and James. Also,
Okay, I'm sorry. Real quick, I want to verify. I'll share the screen in a sec. I just want to make sure I'm not off here.
ChatGPT is saying no.
Yeah, I bet it's saying no.
It's saying there have been rumors and speculative theories, particularly the claim that he may have undergone chemical castration.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of chemical castration talk here.
So there's no solid evidence, though.
The Independent from 2018. Here we go. Michael Jackson was chemically castrated by late father Joe, claims doctor jailed over singer's death. I hope Joe Jackson finds redemption in hell, Conrad Murray film saying. Here, I'll just share this tab real quick. So it was a doctor that was jailed over the singer's death, which I'm kind of confused. Why was he jailed?
Well, what's the source though? Who wrote this shit? That's what we really need to know.
Maya Oppenheim. She sounds Russian. Oh no, she's a woman correspondent. Oh no.
Oh, no, it's false. It's false, dog.
Oh no, she has the only women correspondent job at the UK news outlet. That's not good.
That's horrible.
She writes news stories, exclusives, and features exploring national news, social policy, and global stories from a woman's angle, focusing on human rights, sexual violence, domestic abuse, abortion, healthcare, childcare, sex work, poverty, the criminal justice system, and more.
Stop, please stop. Dog, you got bamboozled.
Oh no! Let's go back and see what else.
We might need to watch this video at a different angle.
Okay, wait.
We can't be 100%.
Megastar's former doctor claimed. So Conrad Murray, who was his doctor at the time of death, said that Joe was one of the worst fathers to his children in history. And it says that he was convicted of Michael's involuntary manslaughter and sentenced 4 years in prison after he was found to have administered a propofol sedative to the King of Pop before he started cardiac arrest. I'm not even going to lie to you. I really...
We can't be sure that he was the...
Maybe I'm biased. I'm probably biased. But again, I believe in the whole Jew theory here. Okay? I believe that he was fighting the executives in the music industry who happened to be all Jewish. And remember, I even told you this, didn't I? Was this a different thing we were talking about? Oh, we're talking about the Kanye thing again.
Yeah.
Like it's the same idea here. Like I don't see how they couldn't have had a connection to his doctor, and he like flipped on him, and he got sent to jail for the medication. You know,
It's a theory for sure.
I'd be naturally suspicious. I don't want to stake my reputation on believing two people who are lying to me.
They had both, just to be clear for viewers who don't follow, they had both sworn under oath at one of Jackson's cases involving the child abuse. They both swore under oath he hadn't abused them. Then later in their lives, they reversed that and said he had. I mean, that's one of the reasons why a lot of people have been very skeptical about their testimony.
But that's the story of Leaving Neverland. I mean, Wade Robson was defense witness #1 in the 2005 criminal trial. And he's probably one of the main reasons why Jackson walked free out of that court, you know? He was an amazing witness. And the story of why he's now saying something different, that's the story of Leaving Neverland. I'd quite like to ask your guests, have any of them ever watched Leaving Neverland? Because I think that's always a fun question to ask.
Well, let me ask, well, I'm getting a nod there. Okay. So Chuck No Joke, you've seen it.
But the two others
rather watch
Yeah, let's ask Chuck No Joke what he thinks.
My question, I have several questions, if I could get them off. One is, what is your motivation in doing these documentaries? Is it financial gain? Is it
poor question? Because obviously you're putting him on the defensive. This guy's gonna be like, "Oh, I do it for altruistic reasons. I care about humans and children in Hollywood being abused." You know, bad question.
You don't like Michael Jackson? Just out of curiosity. And then I want you to answer why you don't blame these parents who leave their kids with a stranger and let their children sleep in the bed with a stranger. Why is your focus not on the parents instead of these co-workers of Michael Jackson?
It's pretty weak. Pretty weak questions.
Valid questions. So Dan, answer those.
Well, Leaving Neverland 1 had the mothers in it, if you remember. And so my focus was very much on the mothers, because I could not believe, and I think most parents could not imagine leaving their little child, 7 years old, 10 years old, alone.
I get it. He's a superstar. Everyone loved the guy. Let's move on. Let's see what Shmuley has to say, because honestly, I'm already not going to like Shmuley, but it sounded like he was on the Michael Jackson side here.
I think Shmuley's a smart guy.
As I did. We loved each other deeply. We were very close friends. Michael wasn't a friend of my children, although he was very close to my whole family. He was my friend. I was his rabbi. It is inconceivable to me that Michael would have committed any criminal sexual offense.
Wait a second. What happened here?
He said he was Michael Jackson's rabbi, dog. What? Bro, that blows this whole thing up.
That changes everything. Wait, did he do it?
He said, did he?
He did do it. Him and Shmuley were in on it, dude.
Bro, Shmuley was getting his Shmuleys in.
Dude, Shmuley's been on a lot of different topics. Dude. I don't know where this guy came from, but he's on Piers talking about a bunch of random stuff, dude.
Bro, like the first time I saw him he was obviously talking about that Palestine shit, but what, now all of a sudden he was homeboys with Michael Jackson?
Dude, Michael Jackson was my boy, by the way. I was his rabbi.
That doesn't mean he didn't cross lines. We would fight about this all the time. When I originally saw Martin Bashir, and let's just remember, Martin Bashir is the guy who allegedly doctored fraudulent financial statements that might have led to, terrible, lethal consequences for Princess Diana. He is an absolutely scurrilous reporter, and I kept him at arm's length from Michael. He called me repeatedly. Then he got his Jewish producers at Panorama to call me. The Jew Connection, can you get Michael to agree to this? And I said, you cannot trust this man. It was in that documentary that Michael said he shared a bed with other children. And I said to Michael, let me tell you something. I don't give one damn if you never touch him sexually, which I believe you wouldn't. I said, any married man who calls up his wife and says, hey, look, to save money for the company, me and my assistant or female colleague are going to share a bed at a Motel 6, his wife's going to walk. You don't share a bed with a child that's not yours. Having said that, Michael did not get off because of what we just heard that someone testified for him. He got off because he didn't do it to Gavin Arvizo. Me and my family were at Neverland the first night that there was alleged sexual abuse. Michael brought the Arvizos to Neverland really to impress me because he wanted me to be involved in his life, to help rehabilitate his life. He knew he was on the downward decline. He was doing Invincible at the time. He could barely even get to the studio. He could barely even wake up. He had fraudulent doctors all around him giving him crap that was going to kill him. That was my real fear. My fear was not that Michael was a pedophile, and he was not a pedophile in my strongest opinion. My fear was that he was going to die, and I told him within 5 years, you will be dead. And I'm not going to stick around to watch it. Because when your friend wants to drive a flipping car off a cliff and you can't stop him, you don't sit there and clap. Everybody clapped. So when I think it's Dan, forgive me, the producer of the film says they were dazzled. What do you mean they were dazzled? Everybody saw the problems. Michael used to call me up and say, Shmooly, I love you. And he didn't think that he was a drug addict because it was all prescription medication. His name was on a bottle. He used to say to me, other rock stars are injecting heroin. I said, Michael, if it comes from a fraud doctor and these doctors had degrees from the stupidest medical places in the world, then it's drugs and you're an addict and you're going to die. But Michael got off because he never sexually molested Gavin Arvizo.
No, I think that's probably the truth. Now, dude, this kind of lines up with the Kanye thing. You can, by the way,
you got to give Shmooly a chance, though, dog. You can't just skip over that.
I'm giving him a chance here. But this kind of makes sense. So I was looking into psychiatry school not that long ago. I thought it was interesting. I was like, let's just see what the deal is here. I could get it's called a post-baccalaureate if you didn't get like a science degree, and they'll give you some like science courses to get you set up for med school. I was just looking into it and all that. And I saw, because my GPA wasn't great out of college because I didn't really try too hard. But there was I was looking up like programs that accept lower GPAs. And there are Caribbean schools that accept like 3.0 GPAs. They give you a lesser degree. You get like a DO as opposed to an MD, but you could still practice medicine. It's just slightly different. You probably get paid less, but you're still a doctor with a DO. And there's also like Puerto Rican schools. There's stuff in like the what's it called? The islands, like the island chain south of Florida. There's a bunch of places down there they accept schools from, or they accept your application from the US for, and they take like lower GPA. So there are like weird, like terrible schools that'll let you in and give you a degree to be a doctor if you're like halfway retarded.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing with Kanye is like, I think this kind of connects over where it's like they both don't like the musical industry. They both were like prescribed some shit. Not that made them crazy, but they both happened to be prescribed medicine, and they both happened to be crazy around the same time. Maybe it was something like they were crazy and they got prescribed. Shmooly here is saying all the fake doctors were giving him a bunch of crap to make him crazy, to make him a drug addict. And that kind of lines up with my theory I was telling you about with Kanye. And so I don't know. I'm not sure what to think.
I don't know. Is there any evidence that these doctors were Jewish?
I don't know if they were Jewish. I didn't say they were Jewish. Why do you always think I'm saying they're Jewish?
That was your whole thing, was that there was some kind of Jewish theory about this.
There is a Jewish theory, but you seem to think that it has to be a Jewish person giving him the pills.
Okay, so you just had to clarify. So you're saying Jewish people directed that doctor to give him the pills.
That would be the idea. It would be something like, we think that, he could use this medication. We have doctors on our staff over here at blah, blah, venture capitalist fund or whatever it is. And they have the opinion that if he was on this, it would probably be okay for him. But also, if it's not, here's this amount of money right here for you to keep prescribing him it for a year to see what happens, And maybe it'll hurt him, maybe it won't, but you're going to make more money from us anyway, so it'll be fine.
Okay, but if Shmooly here is telling the truth and he was Michael Jackson's rabbi, isn't that just Jew-on-Jew violence? I mean...
So now the question is, who's the higher ranking Jew in the situation?
I don't know. Shmooly's up there, dog.
This is the Jew analysis we need to make here, okay? So Michael Jackson, non-ethnic Jew, he's a black guy. He technically is black.
Kind of.
Jewish religion.
Black interior.
But the people at the top of the record labels were ethnic and religious Jews. So they outrank Michael Jackson on the Jew scale. They're more Jewish than him, and they represent the Jewish order of like controlling a bunch of areas of industry. He was the one fighting the big dogs.
But if the Jewish people are the ones at the top of the industry, and they're the ones making all this money off of the biggest pop star in the history of the world, why would they want to kill him? Wouldn't they want to keep suckling that tit?
because he was fighting them. Like, remember, he was like trying to expose them for being, what's it called? Over controlling of the people in the music industry and trying to direct like the music a certain type of way and kind of control the culture through music and that kind of thing.
Yeah, but haven't there also been other people in the music industry that have done that throughout time?
Yeah, Avicii. You know about Avicii? Remember him? Avicii, I think.
Oh gosh! Of course, you brought up the only other example, somebody who died.
Yeah, because you said, well, there are other examples, right? And I was like, yeah, I got
Well,
one off the
my
top of my
point
head.
was that there's other examples where people don't die, and they're also super big.
Yeah, you should have brought that to me, dog. I brought you the example that helps my case.
Okay, Doug. Let's get back to it. I'm going to list my examples here in a second.
For us to look it up.
Either believe in the criminal justice system or we do not.
Well,
But
let me ask you. Okay, but let me ask
cross
you.
lines with
Well,
children,
hang on,
but
let
they
me
were
ask you.
not sexual. It
Rabbi
still
Shruti,
doesn't mean they were
let
unacceptable.
me ask you,
He and
Rabbi
I
Shruti.
thought about it all the time.
All right, let
And
me
that's
ask
what
you.
led to
Oh,
the
another
breakup of
one
our
from
relationship.
One Direction. Liam from One Direction. Yeah, dude. I heard he was trying to expose some shit too. I don't know if it was a Jewish thing, but it was something about sex trafficking or something.
Bro, but he wasn't making no waves. Nobody even knew he was talking shit about them. Nobody really cared about him, to be honest. He was kind of the forgotten member.
That's the whole thing. Like, that's what they want you to think. It's like, oh, I didn't hear him talking about it. Yeah, probably because it was in development. Probably because it wasn't done yet.
Oh shit, he was doing it covertly.
Wait, if
All
they
right.
were, well, wait, hold up. If they would put a lot of money into like killing someone for trying to expose them, wouldn't you think an effective outcome for them would be that no one was the wiser that this person was trying to go into that endeavor of exposing them in the first place? I mean, of course, that would be the best outcome for them. They just happen to be good at it if it's true.
I wasn't. I'm sorry, I didn't catch all that. I was looking at all these big examples of people who are super critical of the music industry. All right, we got Prince. Prince is honestly the only other person who's up there with Michael Jackson as far as like the biggest stars. We got Taylor Swift, dog, has been super critical.
She's not critical of shit in the music industry. What are
Bro,
you talking? She's at the top of the music industry.
Taylor Swift, she has fought against record labels for ownership of her masters, particularly in the battle with Scooter Braun and Big Machine Records. She has since recorded her albums to regain control. You tell me the Jews wouldn't want to shut that down?
Good for Taylor. Not gonna lie, that's a good point. But I think the issue is here,
Frank Ocean.
I think a little bit of the issue is here. What's the motivation behind trying to silence one of these people that are going out against these record labels? Is it just because they're trying to advocate for their own ownership of their own creative assets?
I mean, it makes
Or
sense.
is it more about like them trying to expose the industry for doing other things that are nefarious besides their own, what is it called? Their own like abuse at the hands of the record labels. I think there's more going on.
Today, Junior. No, but I mean, it makes sense for record labels to not be super fond of the people that are talking shit about them. It doesn't mean that there's a Jewish conspiracy to kill all of them. That's kind of
You see how you break it down to the simplest parts.
It's just it doesn't add up.
Mean doesn't mean everyone wants to kill them.
Hey, dog, I was the
good. Too good.
I was the first
Too
one.
good.
I was the first one on the COVID conspiracy, bro. I saw a clip of a scientist on Joe Rogan whenever this shit was first popping off, and I bought into it because things were clicking. It was making sense to me. This isn't clicking, dog.
You saw it on Joe Rogan. You weren't the first to see it.
I was probably the first. I was actually view number one.
Bro was the first view. He actually met Joe Rogan before the interview to tell him about what was going to happen.
Yeah, I talked to the doc before he went on, actually, and
you know what? I think I say we end it there. Do a part 2 tomorrow.
Let us know if you want a part 2 of this. Don't be just out here skimming through. Leave a comment if you want to see it, dog.
Yeah, I'd love to see some comments here. If anyone enjoyed this, want to see a little bit more, we'll go back and forth on this, finish up the video, maybe watch a few more clips of it, but we'll catch you guys in the next one. That's PNC out.